Hello, 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 and welcome to today's episode of Her Version. This podcast is dedicated to sharing stories of struggle to triumph, a platform that allows individuals to tell their truth in order to inspire and uplift others. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, like, and share. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. Let's jump right in. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for this episode of Her Version. Thank you to those that are already jumping on live. We appreciate that. If you could share this video wherever you are watching us at so we can get more views on this awesome content that we're going to be talking about today. If you are jumping on and you are watching us on the replay, I love that. Make sure you hashtag replay wherever you are watching us at so we can send you some after show love and we can see where you're watching us at. So this is the Her Version platform. It's built on storytelling and the understanding that many times our greatest learning experiences come from listening to other people's stories. Today, I'm speaking with an amazing woman named Pam Drzewiecki. Pam is a woman of faith who allowed circumstances to drive her choices until a miracle happened one day. She had her daughter at age 40. That changed everything. Now, as a business owner of Powerful Purpose, a community leader, developer of the weekly Powerful Purpose Planner, and speaker, she is dedicated to helping women live their optimal lives and purpose. Welcome, Pam. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. I love the beginning of this, that music that you play. I was kind of like,
yes,
get you going.
I love it. I love it. I love it. That's one of my faves. Listen, I am so appreciative of you taking some time out of your day to sit, share some of your goodness with us. I know that we're all so busy. Right before we jumped on, you were talking about how you can't believe it's already Wednesday because Monday kind of screwed you up with the kids and everything being off of school. And my son is now 18, but I totally 100% get that. So, sometimes things get put off when the family's around and you're not getting as much, time into your business and the things that are growing you, as a person in your community and stuff. So despite that, I so appreciate you being here, hanging out, doing some down girl time with us.
My pleasure.
Relaxing. I know that you have so much to talk about when it comes to what you're doing now. But one of the things that I love to do with my guests is to kind of take a few steps back and just kind of remember there's so many women that I meet who have gone through just stuff, right? Big stuff or little stuff, but just some stuff, some darkness, some heaviness in their life. Or some pivots, some challenges that really changed the trajectory of where they thought they were going. And sometimes looking at them now, we're like, oh, look at Pam's got all her stuff together. She's got the ball rolling. Must be nice for Pam. And they don't always recognize the stuff that we had to go through in order to get to where we are now. So I would love it if you'd be open to sharing some sort of story or some sort of pivot or journey that you went through in your life and, what you learned from that story.
I would love to. First, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be here. I've been following your podcast and it's just so much fun and so inspirational that I was excited to be on this platform. So thank you so much for that. I really resonate with that part that you said, that people see us who we are today and not knowing what it took to get where we are today. Right. So I really resonate with that a lot. And that's because all of the chapters in our lives, or in my life particularly, has really brought me to where I am and who I am. And even though during those times it seemed very heavy, it really serves me so well now. So saying back when I was younger, body image, right? Always struggled with body image, always struggled with being the shortest one in the class, right? Oh, Pammy, you're so great, but I was like the best friend or the friend, but never the best friend to everybody, right? I was always the girl that had a lot of friends that were boys, but never the girlfriend.
Yeah.
So struggling with the body image and being enough of what I thought was enough really took me down the journey of through my adulthood, struggling with those same thoughts. So when I first met my husband, at my first husband, it was that confidence of not having the confidence that I was good enough to maybe do something else. I was good enough to be on my own. I didn't need that marriage at 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
So all of these things really were fascinating, and not realizing at the time, of course, what I was actually doing, but just finding that it just didn't feel right. Nothing ever really felt right. There was always some kind of void. And those voids, I was filling them with things that weren't good for me. And I don't know, I mean, between, food or partying or, like all of those empty spaces were being filled with stuff that wasn't filling me up. So it wasn't until I reached late 40 years old that I really said, "Oh my goodness, this type of lifestyle is not healthy and I need to make a change." And that was when I had my daughter at 40 is what happened. But there were so many different things that went on in between those, 20, 25 years
Yeah.
by the time I reached that age. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm,
Definitely. What
yeah.
was the aha moment as far as that self-worth that changed when you got pregnant? Why did that happen?
I think because now all of a sudden I was responsible for somebody else other than me.
Yeah.
So the marriage was up and down. He became disabled he got injured and disabled at a very young, I mean, 6 months after we got married. And it was just a journey of him battling with back issues, pain pills, getting addicted to the pain pills, and just creating a different lifestyle than I never expected to be in a marriage like that. And um just making bad choices, continuously making bad choices. But our daughter came from that, right? And when I found out I was pregnant with her, um things were really great. We were in a great place, and he had been in rehab, and everything was really, really good. And what brought me to that moment was during the pregnancy, things started shifting. Unfortunately, he lost that battle of sobriety and he started using again. And when she was born, and like 10 months into that, after she was born, I was like, okay, that was it. I was like, it's not just about me. I was able to handle it. Now somebody else that I'm responsible for and that I absolutely adore, of course, right? And waited a long time for her as a gift. So that is what changed my thought process, was somebody else
Yes.
saying that she was more important than I was, in a way,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I find is very interesting as well,
Yeah.
that not having the strength to do it for myself, but had the strength to do it for somebody else, but
Mhm.
stayed in a situation for somebody else.
Yeah.
So he was safe, right? So it was really interesting when I think about it.
Yeah.
My decisions were made on safety of other people.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely. What were the first few things? Do you remember that far back? What were the first steps? Did you like take a class? Did you start reading some books? Were you YouTube University? Where did you kind of flow to first just to like figure out a different way of being or communicating or this whole personal development?
Yeah.
You know?
So I'm a very, as we my faith was very the first place that I went to, right? Because I find a lot of internal peace when I sit silent. And even though I love to talk, um sitting silent in the beginning was very difficult. So, but now I give myself silent spaces every morning and periods throughout the day. So that is the first place I went to, was my faith in sitting silent and listening to what was being told to me to do. Okay. So that was the first thing. The second thing was the awareness. And from the silence is what brought the awareness and the clarity to what I needed, and helping myself understand that it's not selfish to infuse things that you need into your life. And then the third area was having a coach truly helped me make that change, because she was um being a coach myself, right? Like you're a person that is not directly involved, and just listening to that and having her have conversation and ask the questions for me to look at it differently, and stepping outside of myself that I was for 40 years, and all of a sudden now I have to do something different. So, and I've taken those principles or practices to my life today, and it just continues to grow from there.
Very, very cool.
Mm.
Were you a woman of faith, or did you go to church before all of this, or did it kind of flow once you got pregnant or after you had the baby?
Well, I was raised Roman Catholic Italian, so we went to church every Sunday. That was just, that was kind of expected of us. I've ebbed and flowed throughout the religion, as as a teenager, pulling back a little bit, coming a little back more in. But I would say when things started really heating up in my late 20s and 30s, until Reagan was born, is when my faith started kicking in really a lot again. Like, I was finding myself wanting to go to church. I was finding myself wanting to read the Bible and learning more about it, because I was finding such solace and comfort there. So I would say it's always been there, but it's a lot more. When things started getting a little more difficult, it started coming back in.
Beautiful. Do
Mm.
you recommend, or have you read any books, or do you follow any kind of mainstream individuals, online or podcasting or anything that you could recommend for somebody to link onto?
Sure. There's a couple of them. I'll get the exact names, but there is this podcast. I think it's called Let Love, and it's put on by actually sisters, and they're young order, so it's really fun to listen to them. And they're sisters of love and life, and I love that podcast because you could relate to them, and because they're from today, younger culture, so it's fun to listen to the way they take the faith and bring it through today's culture. So there's that person. I do I read a lot, so I listen to audiobooks a lot, and I'm big on listening to stories of people that were maybe Muslim and became Christians, and the what they go through to honor their faith is just amazing to me, the strength and the resilience. So I listen to that too. And then there's another podcast called The Abundant Woman. She's really good as well. So
Fantastic.
yeah.
What platform do you listen to those on? Where are you at? Apple
Actually,
or
Podbean.
Podbean? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes they're not on all of them. Like myself, like there's so many, but this podcast is only on 8, which is a lot.
It
But
is a lot.
like I'm not on Podbean.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's good to very
I
cool.
don't know. I just seem to go there, but I know they're on Spotify and
But
other ones too. It's just, it's a creature of habit
yeah,
that it's there and I push on it, but
yeah,
I know they're available in other places as well.
perfect.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to talk about, because I think it's one of the areas of which humans can get stuck. And that is this thing called limiting beliefs,
Mm.
where we're raised in an atmosphere or a belief system that's kind of put on us without us necessarily even knowing it, and then kind of having to shift out of some of that stuff. So what you were talking about as far as not being good enough, and maybe some limiting beliefs that you kind of had around that, and then having to shift from one to the other. Do you have any limiting beliefs that you are aware of that you have had to really work on and become self-aware of and really quiet so that you can continue to move forward as a woman, as in faith, as a coach?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. And they pop up when things are ready to change, right? Like when I'm ready to make a change, that's when I have to quiet them a little bit more. And it goes back to being enough or believing I'm worthy of what's going to be happening. Right.
Mhm.
So one big limiting belief was when I became chief operating officer of this insurance practice. 25 years it took me in that insurance practice to get to that point. Right. And I was COO. I hired a coach to help me be a better leader because I didn't feel like I was a good enough leader. So, and that was not feeling that I was worthy or enough. So at that point, and that helped me make the transition of leaving that career after 28 years at age 50 to start Powerful Purpose. So these milestones, right? So I'm late bloomer, 40 daughter, 50 career change, right? But then another time in my life is when I met my husband now, who is my absolute soulmate. But inside that, the beginning of that relationship was everything that I carried from a child to young adult to medium adult, right? And it was like, you don't have to be that because you're not that.
Yeah.
So it was when big changes happened, they really hit me stronger. So really being aware of that is, why am I feeling this way? Like asking yourself questions really, really helps.
Great advice.
Mm.
Definitely. When did you start to become kind of aware of these beliefs?
It was like, I think they were whispering to me, like I really do, but I wasn't listening, right? So I think they were whispering throughout my life, like, it's time. And then I'd be like, no, everything's fine. There's no, I'm not making any changes. I'm fine, right? But again, the biggest was when all of a sudden she was born. When Reagan was born, that was like the opening to, mm-hmm. So I would say life triggers, right? Like what are those life events? And that's one of the things with Powerful Purpose. One of the very first nuggets that I really talked around back 6 years ago when I started the business was to live your life on purpose, with purpose, and not driven by those circumstances.
Yes.
And that is when the awareness started happening. When I
What are
really
those first,
started thinking of that.
what are those first couple of steps that somebody should take when they are looking to live their life on purpose? Like how does one, like they're listening right now, right? We have listeners right now, they're listening. They're like, wow, I'm actually really resonating with everything that Pam is saying. Like, I totally get it. My life is a mess. I'm sitting in a darkness right now. What would you recommend as the first step or two that somebody should take towards living this powerful, purposeful life?
I would say take inventory on what your core values are. What really fills you up, right? And then look at your life and see how many of those core values are actually showing up in your daily lives, right? Understanding too that it's not easy. Give yourself grace, right? Give yourself grace. It is not easy to make a shift, either small or large shift. It's not easy. But I think the inventory of just for today, how am I living my life? When my head hits the pillow at the end of the day, how do I feel? You can feel tired, because we're all busy, right? But how do you feel at the end of the day? Do you feel fulfillment? And if not, take an inventory and actually be very open with yourself. And if you can't be authentic because you're so with yourself, because you're so used to living a certain life that you can't see what it could be, then seek somebody that you feel comfortable with and help them, have them be part of that dream team to help you move forward.
Yeah. What does it feel like to live your authentic life? Like, what feelings should they be looking for?
Oh, I mean, I get like butterflies. I really do. I get butterflies. When I get off track, I feel tense, right? My shoulders are tight. But when I'm aligned with this ideal life I feel gratitude, and I really want to smile. I'm easier to be around, I mean, I'm pretty happy person. But I am Italian. I'm not stereotype, but the temper could be there, right? Like if I feel a little off kilter. So I would say, it's easy to breathe. It's easy to breathe when you're living that ideal life or living closer to your purpose. You don't feel so heavy.
Got it. That totally makes sense.
That resonates with you too. Like you don't. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think also just there's no back and forth talk. A lot of times when you're doing things that aren't authentic to you, there's this cognitive dissonance that kind of happens inside of your brain where you're like, I don't really want to be doing this, but then you're doing it. So that whole back and forth kind of slight argument, it might be heavy or it might be light. But when you are consistently stepping into what your authentic thoughts, opinions, dreams, acts are, that all quiets. Like it's not even there at all because it's true. Yeah. So
Yeah, absolutely. And it is. And even when you look back on things, I wrote something down that try not to focus on the past, right? And really move forward. But when we look back on the past, we have at least I do, and some of my clients have a tendency of remembering what was really bad, right? And trauma, because trauma really adds scarring to our mind, our body, our soul, right? But if we take time and take inventory and really figure out, maybe there was one or two things that were okay, I think that helps a little bit to move forward as well, to give you the open mind that I don't create this badness all the time, right? Like there is things that are good, and even though they happen to us and they could be created by somebody else, a lot of times they are. It's the way we remember them that also is hard to move out of, right? So trying to really think of that story, like what does that story look like? And can I find one thing that might have been a highlight in there, is really important.
Yes. I like that. Find one thing that's a highlight. What if somebody insists they can't find something? Is there something?
I don't know. So could it be, it could be as small as, you know what? I always had the best coffee that time of year. Really, like something, it could be as small as that. But I'm not, when we're in tragedy, everybody has their own tragedy, right? And their own definition of tragedy. So it's not my place to say that you can find something, you better find something, right? But it's almost like an encouragement exercise. Like really see if there's something deep in there that will help you move forward. And because as a coach, you're a forward thinker, right? Like you're moving forward is not as much as unfolding what happened in the past, but you're kind of helping with the questions of how to move forward from there. And I really think that's one of the things that we have to think about, how to move forward from that, and what can we take from it.
Yeah, for sure. Did you ever or do you ever take time to reflect on the mother that you are now with all of these new learnings versus the mother that you would have been if you hadn't have dove into this arena of personal development or faith, or it kind of combined together?
Oh my God, what a great question. And she's 16 now, so there's a lot of reflection around that. And she's very aware of who her father was. He's no longer with us. So when I reflect back on things, I see of the mother that I was when she was born versus the mother I am now. And yes, I regret some of the things that I missed because of the circumstances that I was in, that I probably would have done differently. But I also think about how blessed we are that if I didn't make those choices, the mother I would be today would not be giving her the lifestyle that we have, right? And the family unit that we have and the faith that we have probably wouldn't have been there as strong. So I guess I reflect back on more of what I feel I missed in those earlier years versus where I am now. But I can't even imagine what life would have been if we continued on the path that we were on.
When you say missed, what does that mean?
At that time when I had her, there was a lot of turmoil going on. And I wasn't feeling well myself. So I was kind of in and out of the hospital for the first 6 months, and missing that bonding of early motherhood, like breastfeeding and different things that you're told is a good bonding, and that, right? So, and working a lot because I had to work. So I was gone, 10, 12 hours a day, and grandparents, raising her, and all of that. So missing out on those early development things is, yeah, I regret a little bit, but she's turning out just fine. So then you got to go back, right? What was the silver lining there? And
Yeah.
what was the good thing there?
Yeah.
And she's turning out great.
That's great.
Mm.
Yeah, I have that too with my son as far as bumpy. I don't know though. I feel like I don't give myself enough credit in that arena sometimes because I was in such a mental state of darkness early on. But I also feel like I put on a good front in front of him so that he didn't really get hit with a lot of that emotional and mental instability that I probably had early on. Because same, like he's 18 and he's fine. Like he's so happy, he's so optimistic. He never has a bad day. He's just like he's funny, he's loving, he's healthy, he takes care of himself.
Mm.
But I do joke sometimes, because it's in there. Like, it doesn't matter how great of a parent you are. Like, there's always trauma, in some way or
Exactly.
another. It might not be like even totally you. It could have been school or teachers or girlfriends or other circumstances that maybe, he was in because of me, but not directly from me. So there's always stuff, but I do joke with him, as far as be as open and honest as you need to be during your healing journey. Like I will not be offended because I know that the circumstance of which I had him, I had him 20 with no husband, wasn't ideal. So I'm like fully open to whatever could possibly be a conversation in the future as far as me apologizing for something, but also knowing that I did the best I could with what I knew. And that's really all you can do as a parent.
And I love that, right? Like really acknowledging that we're doing the best we can with what we have and what we know.
Yeah.
That's a great reminder for women that are going through trauma or different things, is you're doing the best that you can right now with what you know and what you feel. And when we go back to, let's make sure that now let's figure out what those core values are, like what really feeds you, it ties that back around. So I really resonate with that, because I think that's so important to recognize that in those situations that we were in, they weren't ideal. And sometimes they're hard to talk about because there are other people involved that caused them, right? But it's important to share the feelings so other women could grow from that as well. Really important.
Yeah. And to share it. And to share it.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Really. That's why I love this podcast. It's awesome.
Me too. Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I love it because I get to hear every single one of them. So that's cool.
Yes. Yes.
But it really helps me. It helps me in two ways. It helps me recognize, one, I'm a warrior. Two, it totally humbles me because, like through my journey and the whole victimhood, which, mindset that I had, I'm always, oh, woe is me, and and mine is so bad, and it was so difficult, and you don't understand, and all of the things, and this whole like, there's nothing worse. And then when I'm sitting down, I've had over 400 women on the stage. It's like, holy crap, actually. No, actually, no, Sabrina. Like, yeah, difficult. And there's so many other women out there that are also warriors. in their own right, the things that they've gone through, the things they've endured, the things that they've come out of that are devastating.
They really are. They really are when you listen to other people's stories and you, like you said, come out of your own victimhood, right? And embrace that. It's amazing though the gift we get from our victimhood and when we realize that we don't have to hold on to it. And I found one of the biggest struggles that I had was that as much as I didn't like the drama, I was addicted to the drama. Even after my divorce, there was still like daily contact and I wonder what he's doing and not me reaching out, but reaching out to me and leaving me voicemails. And then finally, when it was like, it's got to stop, this is not healthy and this isn't right, right? It was like a weight was lifted. But through that period of time, is truly addicted. I was addicted to it. Even though I said I didn't like it and I didn't like it, I still was part of who I was. Dealing for 20 years, I was in that relationship. So that was a big piece of who I was thinking I was managing the drama.
Yeah.
And when that was gone, it was like, okay, this is what it feels like. I was waiting for that other shoe to drop kind of thing, because it was always something that came up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
For sure. I want to acknowledge those watching live. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with Pam and I. If you could share this video wherever you're watching us at so we can reach more eyes, we would so appreciate you. But I want to ask Pam, you've shared so much goodness, so much reflection on your story. Definitely relatable to so many moms, no matter how old you are, when you're bringing a new one in, and the difference between, mindset as you're growing in whatever way, you're deciding to evolve as a woman and a mother. But I would love for you to touch base with us as far as what your business is, who you help, those that are listening live and they're resonating with you. How exactly do you help these women, and where can we find you?
Sure. So, I am a business and life strategist, and that means is like I really found that having a strategic thinking partner, it was very helpful to me. And that is what I do for women. I'm their strategic thinking partner. And I help women thrive. I mean, that's the short of it, right? I help women thrive in their business, their career, and in their lives. And the way we do that is either through one-on-one coaching, or I have a beautiful community called the Purpose Den, and they could come into the community and be part of a place where other women are looking to thrive themselves. So they might not have the same stuff going on, but we all need that support. So that's what the community is all about. And I am on like every social media platform. You can find me, mostly I'm on LinkedIn and on Instagram, which brings me over to Facebook. So I have a business Facebook page and a Instagram, and I'm on Twitter. I do have YouTube, but I'm not as consistent with that, I have to say, right? As you or others that are on there, but that's where I could be found. And my website is up on the screen. And there's a lot of free resources on my website, and all women come, but it has a tendency. I have women that are in their late 60s and in the community to women that are in their late 30s. And it's beautiful because it is like wisdom from all ages, and how much it helps each other grow by learning from one another. So that's where you could find me.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. What are your big dreams for your business?
Oh, geez. I am one of my big dreams. I'm going to have a retreat, and it's going to be an amazing retreat. And just picking a destination on that. And I'm a big thinker and a quick thinker. So I'm like, I'm going to have a retreat. Maybe it'll be in March, but I've learned to kind of slow down a little bit on that, because as an entrepreneur, right, our brains are going a lot. One of my biggest dreams is like to have members inside my community represented in every part of the United States, because in a certain amount of years, my husband and I are going to be full-timing it and RVing. And my dream is to make a stop in every state and have a pop-up and get together and meet other members of the den and bring them together. One of my other dreams was to have another book be published. And I do have a book being released on March 8th, which is International Women's Day. And it's called Inside the Den. And it's stories and lessons from members that are part of the community are coming together, and we're writing a book together. So that was a dream of mine. So that is actually coming true.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Very cool. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, I do what I do because I want women to truly feel connected with what they want in their world, right? And show women that no matter what the circumstances are, we could find our way to get to purpose, and to really help them live their purpose-driven life and feel fulfilled. So that's the reason why I love what I do.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Well, I so appreciate you hanging out, sharing some of your goodness with us. Thank you for taking some time out of your day. For those of you watching live, thank you for being here. On the replay, thank you for being here. Any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Oh, just remember that you're beautiful inside and out, and you're worth whatever you might have in your heart. You're worth pursuing that. So just stay true to yourself and be kind.
Beautiful. Well, if you resonated with Pam and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure that you reach out to her at powerful-purpose.com. She's on all the social media platforms. From her last name, I'm assuming Drzewiecki is one and only with a Pamela. I'm not sure on that, but I'm assuming you'll be able to find her fairly quickly. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure that we all continue to rise. Thank you so much for joining us here on Her Version podcast. This community is expanding every single day and is filled with females who are striving to do better than they did yesterday. For those of you that are new to this podcast and like content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow, and like. If you want to share a story, make sure that you reach out to me at hernation.life. I am your host, Sabrina Victoria, and I am so grateful to be here sharing a platform that allows people to share their truth and inspire others.